It's almost!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost with me, Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, Pakistan hockey is in the news once again, despite finishing third in the Asian Hockey Championships. The team is being heavily trolled. What have they done to earn the wrath on social media platforms? We also look at how acrimonious their relationship with India is turning out to be now. There is anger and rage over in India too over BCCI hosting the men's Bangladesh cricket team. The hashtags boycott Bangladesh is trending all over social media networks. I tell you why. And chess players at the Olympiad are all going gaga over the Bermuda Party. What is the excitement and rage all about this? But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Starting with cricket, IPL franchise Punjab Kings have appointed Ricky Ponting as their head coach for the 2025 season. Ponting stepped down as Delhi's head coach after the 2024 season. Under Ponting, Delhi had reached the playoffs in 2019, 2020 and 2021. Punjab has only reached the playoffs twice in IPL history. Over in football and the Champions League, Bayern Munich decimated Dinamo Zagreb 9-2 in the group stage match. The star of the show was striker Harry Kane, who scored 4 times. He took his tally to 33 goals in the competition. Meanwhile, Kylian Mbappe scored in his Champions League debut for Real Madrid. He opened the scoring in Madrid's 3-1 victory over Stuttgart. Antonio Rudiger and Endrick were the other 2 scorers. Ukraine's heavyweight boxing champion Alexander Usyk was briefly detained at Poland's airport. Sources say the authorities felt Usyk wasn't fit enough to travel. The player, though, claims there was some misunderstanding that led to his detention. Upon Ukraine's intervention, Usyk was finally released. Scotland is set to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games now. This after Australia's Victoria State backed out of organising the event, saying there was rising costs involved. Now it will be held in the Scottish city of Glasgow. However, the multi-sport event will be scaled down a bit, with some disciplines also removed to reduce costs. And Red Bull racer Sergio Perez's father, Antonio Perez Garibay, collapsed at his home in Mexico. Antonio linked this to the shock of the crash at Azerbaijan Grand Prix last weekend. Sergio Perez had crashed into the wall after colliding with Ferrari's Carlos Sainz in Baku. The 65-year-old will be under close medical supervision for a few days now. India breached the wall of China in the Hockey Asian Champions Trophy yesterday. They knocked down the home side 1-0 as they successfully defended their title. Despite a strong performance from the Chinese team, India were crowned Asian champions for a 5th time. Jugraj Singh's winner was enough for the Olympic bronze medalists to maintain their Asian dominance. But the win didn't come easy for Harmanpreet Singh's men. An improved Chinese team made it quite difficult for the Indian side. This wasn't the side that lost to India 3-0 in the group stages. An improved defense, man-to-man marking and a precise game plan. It all made it very challenging for India to score even that one goal that they eventually did. But more than India's victory or China's fighting display, the Pakistan camp on the sidelines is whom we will be talking about today. Not because they ended up finishing third after beating South Korea 5-2, but because of what they did during the final. Pakistan players were seen waving the Chinese flag during the final. That was enough for all the trolling to take off. Now, I understand that the Chinese team gained a lot of fans through the tournament. They were playing at home and playing their first ever Asian Champions Trophy final. So, of course, they had home advantage, plus the perfect underdog story. But seeing the Pakistani players among that bunch was rather jarring. And of course, that got netizens cracking. Obviously, the irony of Pakistan team supporting the country that had beaten them in the semi-final was not lost. But more than China winning, Pakistan wanted India to lose. The biggest factor fueling this, of course, has been the renewed animosity and intensity between these two countries. This tournament, unlike many others in the past, has seen quite the friction between India and Pakistan. During the group stage match between these two, there was a heated encounter between Indian captain Harmanpreet Singh and Pakistan's Ashraf Waheed Rana. What sparked this? Rana tackled India's Jugraj Singh inside the circle. Harmanpreet and Jarmanpreet Singh quickly confronted the offender here, Pakistan's Rana. Players from both the teams started to intervene. As the nature of this conversation, of course, escalated, other players from both sides intervened, trying to control the situation. But things got out of hand a little, and Rana was shown a yellow card, a 10-minute suspension for misbehavior. Given this ugly face-off between the two sides, Pakistan carried that through into the final as well. They wanted to show their anger by supporting China in front of India and doing so openly, sitting in the stands while watching the final. Now, India and Pakistan have years of rivalry across various sporting disciplines. We've seen that, we've known that. In hockey too, these two teams have competed not just for Asian trophies, but also for the Olympic medals and World Cups in the past. Both these countries were once dominant forces in hockey itself, but never have we seen a Pakistan side do something like this, an act that was a tad below the belt even by their standards. It explains the state of sports in that country. The crumbling economy, poor facilities, lack of infrastructure has all contributed to affecting the sporting culture and mindset in Pakistan. I'll explain. And this is seen from Olympic sports right to cricket. Stadiums are in shambles. Take the sport hockey itself. Just some weeks ago, reports emerged of Pakistani hockey players fleeing the country, seeking asylum in Europe. They wanted to escape the situation in their own country where they've grown up, where they were not even getting paid. So clearly, the sporting culture in the country is gradually breaking down. And this latest gesture is only reiterating the situation back at their home. Not the kind of spirit or mindset of a champion side. This isn't something that a two-time Asian Champions Trophy winner should be engaging in. Because instead of restoring that champion status, instead of winning and adding silverware, fighting and getting back to being the best, they were more bothered about cheering for a team that was playing India. Their biggest concern, instead of their own sporting future, was hoping that their biggest rival would lose. Even in the group stage match, their mindset displayed that lack of intent. Even in that 1-2 loss, Pakistan drew first blood, in fact. They were the ones attacking. They were the ones ahead. India were on the back foot. But despite that, India managed to bounce back, stayed calm and focused on their game. That is the difference in mindset between a champion side and a country that's grappling with issues constantly on and off the field. So maybe it isn't just the lack of infrastructure or facilities that is ailing Pakistan hockey here or that needs to take blame. It is probably somewhere that mindset as well that is adding more woes to their already disintegrating sporting system. Maybe just like their cricket team, the hockey team too need a connection camp to bring about that drastic change. And what comes to mind when you think of a chess player? Serious, quiet, unwavered, stoic, silent, and maybe even a tad boring. Well, just about everyone you know probably fits this description somewhat. This labeling, unfair, yes, but if the shoe fits, as they say. Maybe Magnus Carlsen is the sole exception. His wacky moments probably give him a persona, like he cycled in late for a chess game, just about made it in time and still managed to do well. But for the rest, you cannot really think of anything edgy. Can you picture this bunch going crazy at a party? Not at all. For years, though, these cerebral geniuses have been stereotyped. The brainy, geeky, nerdy professionals letting their hair down is rather unimaginable. So what are they doing at a Bermuda party? When you think of the name, you probably think of the Bermuda Triangle, that illusionary geographical location where anything that goes in disappears. Well, maybe this party is rightfully called the Bermuda Party. It's a tradition at the Chess Olympiads, and the same was organized during the ongoing Chess Olympiad in Budapest too, a tournament that India is dominating currently. They are sole leaders in both the men's and women's categories. India are unbeaten so far with 6 out of the 11 rounds already wrapped up. They're on course to win that gold medal in both these categories, at least so far. They're sitting pretty, but there are some days still left in the tournament. But this is good enough reason to celebrate, isn't it? But 2 of India's top performers, D. Kukesh and R. Pragyananda, decided to stay away from the famous, or should I say infamous, Bermuda Party. Maybe to stay focused for the remaining rounds, or maybe they will shake a leg once the tournament is done and dusted. But those who did attend, like Arjun Erigesi and Vidit Gujarati among the Indian contingent, had a gala time with the rest of the players from over 190 countries. Some pictures that probably prove these serious chess players know how to party. They definitely know how to have a good time, but that doesn't do justice to what we've all heard. So what exactly is this Bermuda Party that has got chess geniuses grooving? It's a tradition, like I mentioned a while earlier, and this one has been on for decades. The very first Bermuda Party is said to have taken place in 1980 by the Bermuda Chess Contingent. They organized it, a team that was then made up of rich businessmen who clearly wanted to have a good time, hence the name. So an evening before the only rest day of the tournament, which comes after the conclusion of the 6th round, that's when the rich bunch threw a massive party. That party gained so much attention and success that it is now a set piece in the chess calendar. So the Bermuda Party is organized in the nightclub of the host city. They decide, they pick the event, and of course they pick the entire process. What has to happen at that party? Where will it be? What's the schedule like? At the exact same time during the Olympiad, the night of the 6th round's conclusion. Except for the 1998 edition, when the tournament was conducted in Russia. Bermuda didn't participate in that one, and there was no party. And what makes the Bermuda Party exciting is the stories that come out of it, the morning after. There are some colorful ones from all parties from the past, like the one in 2006 in Italy's Turin. British Grandmaster Daniel Gormali punched another Grandmaster, then Armenian national Levon Aronian. No, it wasn't a feud that started on the chessboard. The two had an argument over a girl who was also a chess player, Australia's Ariane Kawali. Ariane was dancing with Aronian and Gormali took offense. This led to Gormali punching Aronian. What a way to duel. The Brit was so embarrassed by his act the next day that he quit the tournament midway and left. Now, there is, of course, more. England's Lauren de Costa needed stitches after suffering an accident while breaking glass. The Bermuda parties are indeed always eventful.
Most of us got fairly drunk, but that seems to happen fairly often to many people at these chess tournaments. The only negative I will say straight up about the party is that I saw plenty of people chasing when they certainly are married or have girlfriends back in their native lands.
Many chess players stay away from this seemingly rowdy night, as you just heard. In fact, the Uzbekistan team was not allowed to attend this party by their coach in the last edition.
They were very enthusiastic about the Bermuda Party, but I told them, look, you are forbidden to go there, but I am also going to punish myself. This will be the first Bermuda Party since 1988 that I am not going to attend myself. So I am staying in the hotel as well, if this is any consolation.
For many of the players, it's an opportunity to interact with players from various countries. And maybe there is a sense of curiosity too. For many of the younger players, it is that chance to see how some of the famous grandmasters are beyond the chessboard, like Nakamura, who partied till 3 in the morning, or Magnus Carlsen, who's already so witty in his responses. What follows after a few drinks with Carlsen ought to be interesting. Maybe those stories aren't out for public consumption just yet. only reserved for those who attended it. Like the Bermuda Triangle, certain conversations do not really come out in the open. What happens at the Bermuda Party probably stays at the Bermuda Party. Sports often gets caught in political crossfires. We've seen it time and again. And the latest chapter is involving the India-Bangladesh cricket series that's set to start tomorrow. There's a massive uproar among many Indians to boycott the series. It's a huge hashtag that many have joined in on, and it's trending. There's also been a threat to move the venue of the second test out of Kanpur. Why this anger towards the series and Bangladesh cricket team coming to India? And how is the Indian board, BCCI, trying to send out a loud message by continuing to stand firm? Here's a report.
The wars in recent times have had its repercussions on the sporting world. The warring countries have obviously been the most affected. But it has had its ripple effects through the world, affecting competitions all across. Bangladesh has been in turmoil for weeks now. There is political unrest in the country. And the violence in the neighbouring country has enraged a section of Indians who are now raging against the BCCI for inviting Bangladesh to India for a cricket series. They are inciting many people online to join in their attempt to boycott the series. The first test is scheduled to start tomorrow in Chennai. The second is set to take place in Kanpur. Now a group, the Hindu Mahasabha, has issued a threat to disrupt the second test via protests. And for a while there were talks in the media of BCCI considering a change in the venue. But sources say BCCI is standing firm in carrying on with their initial plans. They attempt to set an example of not crumbling under pressure and threats from certain groups, and they say they are monitoring the situation but will not be forced to alter their initial schedule. This is not the first time that sports has had to bear the brunt of political fallouts and tiffs and still hold its ground and send out a strong message of representing a show of strength when the world is divided on strife and violence. It happened a few years ago with the Black Lives Matter movement. Every match began with players taking the knee to show solidarity. In fact, the very first incident was at the Mexico Olympics in 1968, when American athletes Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists in a Black Power salute in protest of racial discrimination in the United States. BCCI is facing a lot of flack on behalf of an enraged section in India who are reacting to the alleged violence against Hindus in Bangladesh. BCCI wants to stay firm in propagating that sport will always continue to unite. Even in the past, despite massive pushback, BCCI always ensured that matches between the biggest rivals India and Pakistan always took place without any snags. And that's what they are attempting to do here too. The Indian Cricket Board has always stood for bringing people together, even in the most intense contests. And this series against Bangladesh is another example of that.
Time for last serve. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted the Paralympians and Olympians at 10 Downing Street. Remember, Britain finished 7th at the Paris Olympics and 2nd at Paralympics. Take a look. Heartwarming visuals but that wraps up First Sports here again today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.